Good evening, friends and neighbors. Or shall I say this afternoon?
Guys on MLB the Show. I'm your host, long-time listener. Be sure to drop a like, hit that subscribe button, and comment below. You can see here by the AL Central standings, we are 23-19 and a game and a half up in the division. Basically, we're at 42 games into the season, which is a good point to do a quick, well, I guess not a quick, but a summary of kind of what's going on with our team, what's going on around the league. And so we'll have a stats/standings update to kind of start this episode. And then we will get this game in here where it's Michael Pineda going against Ryan Yarbrough at Tampa to kind of wrap up the episode. But we've got the draft in 16 days. So there's a chance we might see that in the next, well, we should see that at least in the next couple of episodes. Maybe in the next episode, but we might not be able to squeeze all of that in. But nonetheless, let's take a look around the league. Let's start by just showing you the last few days what has happened. We lost to the Orioles 7-1 in the series finale, but we took 2 out of 3 from them, so that's good at least. And that was on the road, and we won the series. Oakland took 3 out of 4 from us, so that was not ideal. It was mostly the bats that let us down, but we gave up 4 runs here. That's a game you feel like you had a chance to win. 6 runs is more than we'd like to give up. And then again, 6 runs more than we'd like to give up. The pitching here was awesome, and the bats were awake as well. So, anyway, we've got a 3-game series coming up against Tampa here in the middle of May, and it's probably going to be a pretty important one because we want to be cruising heading into this stretch that's coming up with the Twins and the Guardians over the next several weeks. And then as we get into June here, we have some more, games outside the division with the Yankees, Pirates, Blue Jays before we then come back home, take on the White Sox. Anyway, I want to get a couple of wins here and be feeling good about ourselves as we get into this stretch where it's basically 2 weeks straight of playing the Guardians and the Twins. So that's that. Let's look around the league at standings. We'll start in the AL East and then work our way around. So the Blue Jays off to a really good start. They are 27-14, 5 games up in the division. They've lost 2 in a row, so they were 27-13 through their first 40 games, right? Or 27-12, sorry. Anyway, the Reyes are the second place team. Then it's Red Sox at 500. The Yankees 5 games below 500. Probably one of the biggest disappointments in baseball with that record. So in the Central, it's the Tigers and with a 1.5 game lead. Then you got the White Sox and the Royals a game and a half back. The Guardians are struggling at 4.5 back, and the Twins 17-24. A little bit of a surprise there, and they've lost 6 in a row. So they are, they're struggling. The Indians have won 5 in a row to get to 18-23. In the West, the Mariners 24-17, a pretty big surprise there. The Astros are 24-17, Angels 23-19, so it's tight at the top in the AL West. The Rangers are 4.5 back, and the A's are just atrocious, 11-31. For a .262 winning percentage, that's the worst in the American League. In the wild card, if the season ended today, there'd be a 3-way tie for that wild card spot, the Rays being a half game back. Then you've got White Sox, Royals. So a bunch of teams, it's still early, but a lot of teams right there in the mix at this point. In the National League, the Braves are a half game up on the Marlins, who are playing pretty good baseball at 22-19. A surprise there. The Nationals right around 500, as well as the Mets. And then the Phillies are a disappointing 14-27. They've got an offense this year that should be putting up way more runs than they are right now. That's their problem. And if you would have had me guess what their issue would be if they were 13 games below 500 this year, I would have 100% it's their pitching. So that's a surprise. The Cubs are in first place in the Central. And this is a division, like right now, the Reds and the Pirates are both pretty bad. But among these three teams, it's like I have no idea who's going to win this division. I kind of say the Brewers because it seems like they're always competitive here for whatever reason, even in years where you don't necessarily expect them to be. So the Cubs have won 6 in a row to get to 24-15, and they have a 3.5 game lead. But I bet you that tightens up by the end of the year. The Pirates are actually overachieving at 17-24 because they are not a very good baseball team. The Dodgers are in first. MLB the Show loves the Dodgers, and it's fair because they are just absolutely stacked. It's like an all-star team. It's just unfair. They're 30-10. The Padres hanging in there at 26-15, 4.5 games back. The Giants playing well, and then the Diamondbacks and Rockies are struggling, and the D-backs have lost 5 in a row. All right, let's look at the National League wild card. Padres way out in front there. That is what, a 4-game lead over the Marlins. So they're safe there, and then the Giants hold the other spot. So there's more of a gap here at the top than in the American League wild card race, but you got a bunch of teams over 500. And at this point in the season, if you're anywhere sniffing 500, you're still in the mix. So that's it for standings around the league. Let's actually, just out of curiosity, let's go to the minors, and I'll show you. Here are the Mud Hens. They are 16-20. And their issue so far has been they haven't been able to score runs. They're giving up a lot of runs, second most in the AAA East Midwest Division. And then as far as runs, they're toward the bottom, but they're not terrible. But that's still a bad combo when you're scoring 21 less runs than you have allowed. So that's no good. And then in the AA, the Seawolves are actually in first. They are leading that division in runs scored and runs against. They've lost 2 in a row, but they're 19-14. That team is playing pretty well. I forgot to actually show you this. This is really interesting. We're in first place at 23-19, but look how many runs we have allowed compared to everybody else in the AL Central. It's not even close. We are just terrible. So it tells me that we're winning close games, and then when we lose with style. Like, we just get crushed. So that's interesting. The other thing that is interesting is that we are 9-12 at home and 14-7 on the road. That is like, the opposite of what you would typically see, especially with winning teams. But we're 7-3 against the division, and that's why I said we've got a big stretch of games coming up against these two teams that are at the bottom of the division. We need to take care of business there and keep our foothold at the top of the AL Central. So we'll see how that goes. Let's now look at statistics. I want to start by looking at team rankings, and then we'll go look at individual stuff. Batting average, we're going to start going to the bottom and then work our way up to see where we land. We're actually 14th. That's not terrible. But then as far as runs scored, I'll bet you we're lower than 14th. Nope, we're tied for 14th. So that's actually, it's right in the middle of the pack. It's not that bad, but we'd like to see it come up a little bit. We're third in the league in hits, which is interesting. As far as doubles, 17th, so right in the middle of the pack. Tied for third with 10 triples. And then home runs, I'll bet you we're kind of low on this list. Yeah, 21st in the league. Miggy, at his age, is tied for the team lead in home runs. Spencer Torkelson has been on fire. You'll see that in a second. RBIs is kind of irrelevant. Stolen bases, we're probably near the bottom. So we are tied for 24th with a total of 20 stolen bases. And then caught stealing. We've got to be high here. I feel like Victor Reyes has been thrown out more than he's been safe. We've been caught 15 times, and we only have 20 stolen bases. That is not a good stolen base percentage. In fact, it's 25th in the league. So that is not going well. I'm not real worried about walks. Actually, you know what? Let's just see where we are. next to last. So that's not good. We're not showing any patience at the plate. Does that translate into less strikeouts? Apparently not, because we're not drawing walks, and yet we're still striking out a bunch, tied for 21st in the league in that department. So that's not the greatest combination. Slugging, we're probably near the middle of the pack. Yeah, 17th. That's not terrible, but could be better. And then on base percentage, we're probably pretty low. Yeah, 25th. You know, our batting average was near the middle of the pack, but we're not drawing any walks. So we're just not getting on base enough to score runs on a consistent basis. We are not grounding into double plays, but that's because we strike out a lot and we're never on base. So it's hard to hit into double plays when you don't have guys on base. And then when you do, nobody hits the ball. All right, I don't care about assists and putouts. Errors we kind of care about, but more so we care about fielding percentage. We are tied for 21st in errors. That's not that good. And then fielding percentage, we're 19th. I mean, it's, you know, fractions of a percentage point away from, you know, 12th. So that's not terrible, but it could be better. ERA, we're bad. Where are we? Well, we're better than I thought. 18th. That's still not great, but we got to get better here. And you'll see where it's kind of annoying as to why that ERA is as high as it is. We'll get there in a second. Do we have any complete games? We do, apparently. We got one from Michael Pineda. Was it a shutout? It might be a team shutout. Whoa. Okay, he did fire a complete game shutout, and then we have 4 team shutouts, which is tied for 4th in the league. That's actually not that bad. But we're just not consistent. And then for saves, we're 2nd. So, and that goes back to us winning close games. Most of the games we win, we need a save because it's either we're winning a close one or we're getting blown out. So Andrew Chafin is doing a pretty good job. He's got 13 saves, which is up among the league leaders. Now, blown saves, this is bad. We have 7. Chafin is not responsible for any of those, and some of those come in like the 6th, 7th, or 8th inning, which I think is stupid. That they count those as blown saves. Those should be listed as blown holds. That should be the name of that stat. Because that's what they are trying to accomplish with that inning of work, is they are trying to get a hold. So I think the only reason they call it a blown save is because if you come in the 7th inning and it's a 3-run game and you pitch a scoreless inning and then your team scores 4 runs in the next inning and they just leave you in to finish the game, they give you a 3-inning save. Well, what you should get is a hold, because you got the hold in the inning where that's what your job was, and then you just stayed in the game. Maybe you give them a hold and a 3-inning save, but just giving them a save in that scenario is dumb, in my opinion. And that's something that will change over time in baseball, if you ask me. Runs allowed, we're 23rd. That's just not good. We got to be better. And then how are we doing with keeping the ball in the ballpark? Not very good. So that's part of the problem. We're giving up too many home runs. So we'll have to work on that. Walks. Are we walking? I feel like we're walking a ton of guys too. Yeah, 21st. That's not terrible, but you're still in the bottom third in the league, basically. Need to be better than that. And then for strikeouts, like if you're walking a bunch of guys, I sure hope that you're also getting a bunch of strikeouts, and we're really not. We're right in the middle of the pack. So, you know, I'm fine, you know, issuing a walk when it's like 2 outs, nobody on, a good hitter at the plate, and you're trying to get him to chase out of the zone to strike him out, versus risking throwing one and getting too much of the plate and giving up a home run. That's most of the time when I walk a guy personally, that's usually when it happens. It's a guy that I just don't want to risk him hitting a home run. I've got first base open, so I kind of pitch around him, trying to get him to chase. Win percentage is just reflective of your record. So that's kind of a stupid team ranking. All right, let's go now and look at league leaders. Let's see if we have anybody in the mix for any of these. So Teoscar Hernandez hitting 362. Javi Baez leading the league in doubles. That a boy. There's Akil Baddoo has 3 triples, tied for the league lead. Home runs. 12 is the league lead. Our leader is 7, if you remember. How about what's Mike Trout doing? He's got 11 home runs. I always like looking at his stats because this guy is just a freak. Yeah, he's hitting 316 with 11 dingers. So, just kind of crazy. This was such a disappointment. These last couple years, just not getting to see him play a lot just hurts everybody. So, anyway, we'll see if he has a year where he can finally stay healthy again. He's leading the league in home runs, or he's second in home runs and then leading the league in RBIs. We don't have anybody on the list here. Runs, nobody for us. Marcus Semien leading the league there. That's kind of interesting. Whit Merrifield way out in front in stolen bases. Altuve leading the league in walks. Grandal in OBP. Aaron Judge in slugging. Hernandez in OPS. Shane Bieber, 5 wins, tied with a few folks there at the top of that list. Saves. So Iglesias has 16. There's Chafin with a baker's dozen. So he's up there. And if we start winning more games, maybe he'll have more opportunities. So ERA 1.95. Nothing like real crazy here, and this is still early in the season. So there's Ohtani up there among the tops. Let's look at his offensive numbers. Can we do that? Yeah. He's hitting 252 with 7 homers. So he's not exactly tearing the cover off the ball right now, but he will be before long. Shutouts, a couple of guys with 2. Strikeouts, Shane Bieber and Chris Sale there at the top. Complete games we saw earlier. Innings pitched, Shane Bieber, so he's having a pretty good season from the looks of things. Whip, Lance Lynn, .91 whip. This guy all he does is throw fastballs. Why can't anybody hit him? Well, I guess maybe he's not walking anybody for that reason, but anyway. Verlander having a nice season. Blackburn in relief doing a good job. Noah Syndergaard. We don't have anybody up there. It's kind of disappointing. And then Beaver leading the league there. Grandal and Trout. Such a surprise to see Mike Trout's name at the top of that list. Just a real quick sweep of the National League. There's Rosario. So we have very few people contending for the league lead in pretty much any categories, which is kind of disappointing. Rosario hitting 339. Chris Bryant, 11 home runs, so he's having a decent run with the Rockies so far. Paul Goldschmidt, 31 RBIs, leading the league. Aguilar, Trey Turner, how about OPS? Brian Anderson, leading the league in OPS? What? That's just stupid. He's hurt, so that's going to end. No way he keeps that up. Trevor Rogers, 6 wins, along with Kershaw and Dustin May, both racking up W's for the Dodgers. Matzik with 14 saves. You always see a bunch of Dodgers at the top of the pitching categories. It's kind of annoying. Corbin Burns, 3 shutouts. Dang. Leading the league in strikeouts. Charlie Morton. Father Time, just sit down, because I'm 38. I don't care. I'm striking a bunch of guys out. And he actually pitched really well in his season opener for the Braves. I think he pitched like 7 shutout innings and struck out a bunch of dudes. I can't remember for sure. But Adam Wainwright, 3 complete games. He's got to be, I was going to say, he's 40. Jeez. Corbin Burns pitching well there. Jake DeGrom leading the league in innings pitched. Chris Paddock, the best whip in the National League. That's insane. .78. But look at this. You have all 5 Dodgers starters in the top 8 in WHIP. Oh my gosh. Look at their starting rotation. Overall, 93, 90, 92, 81. That's just embarrassing. And then Trevor Bauer, 89. I wonder if he'll actually even get to pitch this year. I haven't really been keeping up with his story. So that's good enough of a look at the league leaders. The only other thing that I want to look at is who is in the run. Who's in the running for reliever of the year? We're not in that mix. Rookie of the year, it's gonna be there's a few guys that are in the mix here, but Torkelson's right there. If he can keep those power numbers up and keep that average climbing a little bit, he's got a shot. So we'll keep an eye on that. But I don't really think we're in the mix for many other awards. So I'm not really going to spend a whole lot of time digging through those. But what I do want to dig through, actually, let's do it this way. We're going to go to lineups, and we're going to look here at who's performing or not. So Victor Reyes is struggling. He's been better lately, but he's still got that average way down at 213. And he doesn't have any power. And, wait for it, he is 6 for 15 trying to steal bases. And the guy has good speed, 80, and then the base running ability is actually not that bad. So the fact that he is 6 for 15 is just driving me crazy. So he has just not been a valuable asset to this team so far this year. He's turning it around a little bit lately, but he has to step it up. Robbie Grossman has been okay. He came out of the gates swinging the bat pretty well, cooled off a little bit, and has just been kind of steady since. Austin Meadows is doing fine, and he's heating up again. Javi Baez has really been slumping lately. He'll be all right, though. He's still at 253 with 6 home runs. He's the best player on this team, and he's going to continue to get a ton of at-bats. So, Spencer Torkelson has been on fire, hitting 270 with 7 dingers and 19 RBIs. And it's got to help Baez that the guy behind him is starting to swing the bat well. So we'll see if that translates at all. And then Cabrera is also swinging the bat pretty well. Very similar numbers to Torkelson, just more RBIs, despite a slightly lower batting average. But Miggy's doing fine. I'm not worried about him right now. He's not the reason we lose most of the time. So that's good enough for me. Jonathan Scope has been a little bit of a disappointment, but he hasn't been terrible. Like, his numbers are right in line with Baez. In fact, they're pretty much identical, which is crazy. 253, 6 homers, 21 RBIs. 253, 6 homers, 20 RBIs. And you know, he has not gone through any like really hot or cold stretches. So Candelario is disappointing right now. He's got the average all the way down at 218. He's not hitting for any power. He's got 6 RBIs in 119 at bats. So he's just got to be better. Period. Like, I'm going to probably start considering playing Willy Castro at third against righties and just hope that Candelario can at least figure it out when he's facing lefties. Barnhart has not been very good. He's been better lately, but he was off to an absolutely dreadful start. He's got the average barely over 200 now. He can't hit lefties at all. We did go in and make him a switch hitter because he's gone back to switch hitting this year for the Tigers. But I didn't do anything to his attributes. All I did was just make it so he'll go in and bat right-handed when there's a lefty on the hill. So that's that. Now we look at the bench guys. Don't really care about Daz Cameron. He's 1 for 5. I'm using him as a defensive substitution late in games to give guys some rest. Eric Haas has been pretty good. 279 with 3 homers. Now, he still doesn't hit righties very well, but you know, if Barnhart isn't going to hit righties, we might as well bring in Haas and hope that he can hit a bomb every now and then. Willy Castro has been okay, hitting 275, doesn't have any power, and he's a guy that we use as much as we can when there's a lefty on the hill and somebody needs rest. The problem is, like, he's a second baseman. I don't want to take Baez or Scope out of the lineup because he hits lefties pretty well, and the same thing with Baez, and Candelario's even better against lefties. So, like, that's the part that I struggle with mentally. A lot of times when I use him, it's like we'll get Austin Meadows a day off because Castro can come in and hit lefties better than Meadows anyway, or Grossman or Reyes or whatever. But, like, I'd need Reyes in the lineup against lefties to hopefully get him some hits and get his confidence up. So that was Willy Castro. Harold Castro has been a little bit of a disappointment. That average way lower than I would like to see it, but it's only 38 at bats. If he goes through a stretch where he's like 5 for 11, that average comes way up. So we're not real worried there. And then we don't care too much about Derek Hill. He's hitting 200s, 3 for 15 with no power. He's more of a defensive substitution / pinch runner type. So that's the offense at the major league level. We're going to go down to AAA and look at the offense here. The only thing that we are looking for is, do we have guys that are like grossly overachieving or grossly underachieving that we need to consider for a move either up to the majors or down to AA? Daniel Pinheiro is a no. I don't think that's worth moving. This guy is really struggling. He's 57 at bats. He's got 1 home run and he's hitting 175. He's a left fielder. He's a corner outfielder who can hit right-handed pitching pretty well, or at least should be able to. But he's been atrocious. Maybe we consider moving him down. So Daniel Cabrera, remember that name. Riley Green is hitting 308 with 4 home runs. And that's through just 117 at bats. And this is not a guy that we expect to be a 30 home run guy at the major league level. Like, if he played every day in the majors all season, he might hit 20 home runs right now. So he is definitely swinging the bat well. However, he's in a cold stretch. So the problem here is, like, I could consider calling him up, playing him against right-handed pitching instead of Victor Reyes, but I do not want to call him up when he's not confident. And, like, if we can get by this season letting him just absolutely rake in AAA and then bring him up to start next year, I would love to be able to do that. Or, at minimum, only call him up because we have an injury in the majors this year, or it's like it's playoff time and I need every bat I can get, and just call him up late in the season and leave him on the playoff roster or whatever. So we'll see what we do there, but that's definitely one that we've got to keep an eye on. Josh Lester is hitting 306 with 6 home runs, but that's not going to be sustained. He's on fire right now, but he's really just not that kind of hitter. If he had 57 contact and 61 power and really good vision and discipline and clutch ratings or whatever, maybe I could see this being a guy that we could use at the major league level as a pinch hitter. But this is not a major league hitter. I don't even think he's on the 40-man roster. So he's just going to stay where he is. Cody Clemens can stay put for now. He can stay put. Rosa can stay put. Lavarnway is terrible, but I'm not going to bother moving him because he's 34 years old. I'm not sending him down to AA. It's just not worth dealing with. And then on the bench, nothing concerned there. Zach Short, just 30 at bats, but he is swinging the bat well. But this is not a guy that I want on the major league roster. Same with Cole Peterson, and he's not hitting anyway. Jack Lopez is terrible. Dustin Garneau is swinging the bat well, but it's only 24 at bats. And again, not a guy that I really want on the major league roster. Although in real life, he is the 3rd catcher for the Tigers. Down to AA. Trey Cruz, 286, 1 home run. Keep an eye on him. He's a guy that has some upside. Actually, no. I was thinking he was B potential, but he's a D potential. So yeah, he's useless to me. Valente hitting 283, no power. He's a 69 overall, but again, D potential. De La Cruz is struggling, but not bad enough to where we're going to do anything about it. Nothing to worry about there. Gage Workman. Another D potential. Nothing. What is another D potential? Darren Dingler. This is a guy that we want to keep an eye on because he's B potential. He's not swinging it well right now, hitting 221 with no power. Parker Meadows, the younger brother of Austin Meadows, hitting 254 with 1 home run. And then Danny Woodrow, hitting 307 with a home run, but he does not have the kind of attributes to where that's going to be sustained. He's probably getting away with a lot of ground ball, infield singles, or just hitting the ball through the infield for base hits. But he's not a guy that's going to be an asset for us. D potential, yeah, he's trash. All right, how about Ulrich Bajarski? D potential. He's swinging the bat well, but he doesn't have much upside. Cole Keith is atrocious right now. At the AA level, I'm not worried about sending guys down. It's kind of stupid. Trash. And then Elijah Alfonso, another catcher that we want to keep an eye on. He's a 69 overall. He's only 22, and he's got C potential. But we need him to be raking at this level so that we can, get him to develop a little bit and maybe have a use for him at the major league level. If he can develop a little bit more contact and or power, he's got the attributes to be a major league catcher. Defensively, he's there, and he actually runs well. So it's disappointing that he is not swinging the bat well. But again, Reyes and then Green and Cabrera are the guys that we need to maybe consider moving around. I think we're going to let Cabrera just sit there for now. He'll be okay because he's not even batting against left-handed pitching. He's not even in the lineup. So with his attributes, all he's doing is DHing. He's going to figure it out and be all right. So we're not going to do anything there, but Riley Green we definitely need to keep an eye on. All right. That was the offense. Now let's go through the pitching. Eduardo Rodriguez, a 1.45 whip is terrible for a top-of-the-rotation guy. He has not been good. He has been good over his last couple of starts, which tells you how bad his numbers were before he started to heat up. But we need him to be better, period. Same thing with Spencer Turnbull, and he is going in the wrong direction. He's cold. He's got an ERA up around 6, a whip up around 1.45 as well. I need him to be better. Michael Pineda, he has been okay. That whip is higher than I would like it, but the ERA is acceptable for a number 3 starter. So we'll see how he does. He's actually due to pitch against the Reyes in this next game. We'll see. And we need him to do well and kind of get that whip down. Casey Mize has been awesome. A 1.14 whip, a 3.14 ERA. And if you look at his stats from last year, the whip is identical. The ERA is down. That's what we want to see. He's got 6 quality starts out of 8 starts this year. So he has been consistent, and I'm liking what he is doing for us so far. What's annoying is that he's barely he's seeing some progression there. So let's keep that going, and he could end up being a stud for us. Tarek Skubal has also been really sharp. The whip is a little bit up, but the ERA is really solid at 2.98. He's 2-1. 48 and a third of work so far. But like you see here, like we're just not getting enough out of these top of the rotation guys. It's just no question these guys are not holding their weight or pulling their weight. So they've got to be better. Now the problem is like I can't stick Joey Wentz into the rotation to backfill one of them because he has been absolutely atrocious to where he is now my guy that comes in the game when we're down 5 runs early. Tyler Alexander, for a minute there, looked like he was going to pitch his way into the rotation. And then the last few times he's gone out there, he has been really bad. To where the whip is now, it's still not, like those numbers aren't bad as a whole. But if you would have looked at his numbers, a week ago, the whip was down around 1. The ERA was down below 2, I think. Like he was rock solid. And then he's just been bad the last couple times he took the hill. Joe Jimenez, I can live with a 3.94 ERA, but it's a 1.56 whip that's going to give me heartburn. You got to be better. Keep guys off the bases, and then your ERA comes down as well. But I'm not real worried about Joe Jimenez. Fulmer has been a complete surprise this year. The whip hasn't been the greatest, but that ERA is pretty darn good. And we've put him in some tough situations that he's managed to get out of. So he's been a success. Gregory Soto is dangerously close to finding his way down to AAA or to another team because he is just terrible. I mean, that's the only way I can spin this. Like, he is terrible. We've got to do something to get a left-handed reliever, setup or middle relief kind of guy that's not an absolute disgrace. Jose Cisneros, the complete opposite. He has been just dazzling out there. A .75 whip, 1.35 ERA. I cannot say anything bad about this guy. And then Andrew Chafin also doing an excellent job. He has been incredible in that closer role. A .78 whip and a 2.35 ERA. 0 blown saves from this guy. He is 13 for 13. So he is doing the job. Now, that is what we've got going on at the major league level. We will talk more about some plans here, but let's first come down to the AAA squad. Matt Manning has been really good. 1.05 whip and a 2.56 ERA. He has been really, really sharp. Now, his attributes aren't really coming along that much. If we look at what he did last year, he had 18 starts, only 4 quality starts. The whip was an issue. The ERA, he was not ready for the majors. This year, he's got 8 starts in the minor leagues, and 7 of them are quality starts. So he has been really good. Bottom line, if he keeps anything like this up, he's going to be on this major league squad this season. I don't know how long I can hold him off. In fact, it might make sense for us to move, who was it? Joey Wentz down and call Matt Manning up. But I don't want Matt Manning on the major league squad and then sitting in the bullpen as a long relief guy. That's the challenge there. I'd rather him get the innings than the better experience but less innings or whatever, if that makes sense. Chase Anderson has not been the greatest. Willie Peralta has been terrible. Ladwig has not been very good. Rosso has not been very good. So here, like, these two guys are doing okay, but Anderson is kind of like borderline. Manning has been really good. In the bullpen, Fado has been really good, as has Lang. Now, I need to kind of decide, like, one of these guys I feel like has pitched their way into the rotation. We're going to go with Lang. Actually, let's go. Let's see. 26 D potential, 26 D potential. So it's the same. These guys are basically the same pitcher. Lang has the better walks per 9 ratio. We're going to go with him. Rosso is going to drop out of the rotation and go to the long relief role. So we'll see how that works out. Carlton has been really good, but at a 61, like, these overalls, I'm not even interested in seeing if they're like major league material. Rony Garcia, we might actually send down as bad as he has been. We're going to look for a right-handed reliever at AA. If there's one that's doing well, that's in the neighborhood of a 60 overall, we'll swap them. Funkhauser has been really good, but just 9 innings of work. Garcia has been terrible, but it's only 3 innings of work. Sorry, I had to fight off a sneeze there. Jacob Barnes has been bad, but I don't care. You're a closer at the minor league level. I really wish he would be like lighten it up, because then that would give me an option if Joe Jimenez keeps struggling. But I'm not worried about right-handed relief pitching at the major league level right now. So let's real quick go to the AA level and see if there are any of these middle relief guys that are doing really well. Why don't we call up Moreno? Yeah, let's go do that real quick. So we're gonna go here. We're gonna go. Actually, you know what? We'll just remember to do that, but let's finish looking at the numbers first. So Garrett Hill has been okay. The whip is a little high, but the ERA is really good. Jackson Jobe has been outstanding. Those numbers very similar to what Matt Manning is doing at Double-A. He hasn't really progressed a whole lot, but that's okay. He's only 19, a B potential. I think this kid is going to end up being a really good major league pitcher. We'll see, but that's a high whip, but the ERA is okay. Those are all really good numbers. Again, all really good numbers, and that's what we want to see from Ty Madden because he's a B potential, and he's seeing a little bit of attribute progression already. So that's what we want to see. We want to see his overall come shooting up into like the mid to high 60s by the end of this season, because then he's only a year or two away from possibly being ready for the bigs. Drew Hutchinson has been atrocious. Franklin Perez has been really good, but there's really not anybody that I feel like we need to maybe try and slip him into the rotation for yet. We'll give this guy another month or so to figure it out, but Perez, if he keeps pitching the way he is, he'll find his way into the rotation at the Double-A level. Rodriguez, that whip is a little high, but the ERA is nice. That's just bad. Vest, that's a good whip, but the ERA is up a little bit. I will move him to closer whenever we make this swap with Moreno. Castillo, just 1 2/3 of work. And then Moreno has been pretty good for them. 9 innings pitched, an ERA of 2, and a whip below .9. So that's a look at all of the stats around the organization. And from all of that, we have one move to make. And it was... Who was it? Ronnie Garcia, you go to Double-A, and then Gerson Moreno, you go to Triple-A, and now we got to go into the rotation. Yeah, he can go there, and then Garcia will go to this spot. Vest. Nope. Let's just do that. Let's just have one setup guy. Because if you have two that are of the same, they throw with the same hand, one of them ends up like barely getting any work, like what's going on with Luis Castillo here. So let's leave it like that. Now, if you look at what we have in the Double-A staff, we don't have a single left-handed arm anywhere on this team. At Triple-A, look at this. Same thing. Okay? So then we go to the to the major league squad, and we've got 3 guys in the bullpen that throw left-handed. But like Soto has been terrible. I need a relief pitcher that can throw left-handed. So, and by the way, I am quickly realizing that we're probably not going to get a game in this episode. We might, depending on how long this takes me. But let's look at what's out here for relief pitchers that throw left-handed. So, righty, 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 righty. You get the idea. Like, this is insane. Now, we get all the way down here to Tony Watson, a 36-year-old. Now, he's a 71 overall, but, like, stay with me here. And that overall is going to come down. But, like, if you look at his attribute ratings, the one that I'm worried about is strikeouts. And that's it. And, like, I can live with that. If the rest of those numbers stay anywhere close to where they are right now through the rest of this season, this is a guy that I think can help us. And then, like, let's look at what he did over the last several seasons. Now, 2020 was a shortened season, but he was really good. And, like, his whip in the last 4 years has never been above 1.26, which is pretty solid. And, like, last year is 1.01. 3 of the last 4 seasons, it's right around 1, which is really good. Now, his ERA was up, but this is, I think this is a much better option than what Gregory Soto gives us. Now, he's not the same pitcher that he used to be. He throws that sort of like three-quarter to sidearm look, And he now features his changeup a lot more than he used to. He used to feature that sinker-slider combo and was really tough to hit when he threw a little bit harder. But now he changes the speeds a little bit. I think that changeup needs to be about 84 miles an hour to be more effective. But bottom line, I think this is a guy that we can use. So what we need to do is clear a spot for him on the roster. I mean, we're 23-19, and I think if we can add an option in the bullpen that shores us up a little bit, it helps us tremendously. So here is my plan. We're going to go look at our roster, and we're going to go to the 40-man. We're going to go all the way to the bottom, and this joker right here is history. We're not using him anyway because he's like the worst player on our... Look at this. He's third from the bottom on our entire roster, but yet somehow we have him on the 40-man. So we're just going to go and outright release him, and he doesn't even cost us anything. $37,000. That is irrelevant. Now we have that roster spot open, and we're going to go in. Now, I should have looked at starters just like here. This guy. Maybe we could have used him, but like I don't want another long relief type pitcher. I want a true reliever, and Tony Watson is our guy. The other thing I didn't really look at is if there are any like crazy prospects that the game created that are like 70 overall, 19-year-old with A potential. There's a D. There's a B. Like, this guy will get signed in the offseason. His walks per 9 are so bad that I don't want him, but that's an interesting find around the league. Now, yeah. Anyway, how about Diego Soto? See, like, it drives me crazy that these guys are in here, and every once in a while, one of them will be like an A potential. And it's like, well, dang it, I got to sign him or else somebody else is going to, and that just hurts me. Ray Garcia, D. This is just curious. I just want to make sure there's nobody out there that, like, we don't want ending up on another team, and I think we're good. Yeah. All right, so let's get back to relief pitchers. Tony Watson, it's going to be a 1-year deal, and we'll make it worth $2 million so that he's happy. I really wish MLB the Show would get back to more about the, like, clarifying how morale impact their overall performance or whatever. Like, it's still, I feel like, coded into the game, but you don't really see, like, on paper how that is supposed to affect their play. They used to have it where if they were getting a morale boost, you would see in their attributes where those morale boosts were, like, you know, active, or if they were having morale issues, then you would see that. So, anyway, we are going to say you're going to be a bullpen guy for 1 year, and actually I can probably drop this down to 1.8. Whatever, $2 million. It doesn't matter. So, we got Tony Watson signed to a 1-year deal worth $2 million. Now, what that's going to mean is if I go in here, he should be on the... Where is he? I kind of thought that they would throw him onto the Major League roster, but apparently not. So we go here. Tony Watson. They stuck him in single A. So what we are going to do, Gregory Soto is going to AAA. He's been that bad that I don't want him on this Major League roster anymore. Now, we'll figure out what else to do there, but first, let's fix what's going on at the Major League level. So, add him to the roster, and now move him to the majors. Now, let's go to our rotation, and he is now our setup lefty guy. So that's what we wanted. Now what we have down here is a situation where, like, Gregory Soto and Brian Garcia can switch positions, and now what I'll do is just go ahead and send Garcia down to AA, and then who's the worst pitcher left on this team? Diaz. So there you go. Let's go Garcia, you go to AA, And then, who did I say it was? Diaz? Yeah, he's been really bad. You go to single A. That should solve all of those problems. So we're good there. We're good there. And we finally have a left-handed arm on this roster. And he should be okay at AAA. If he sucks at AAA, we know that he just flat out sucks. Now we have 2 Garcias as setup men. We're going to move one of them up here so that they actually get some work. Come on, why does it do that sometimes? All right, so we're good. That is that. And why don't we go ahead and just call that an episode? In fact, let's do one more thing. What we will do is get another quick update on the scouting situation as far as players that we are potentially considering in this draft. We know that we need some help in the bullpen. And here is a blue chip closer, 18 years old. And if you look at his, where he is currently, his numbers aren't that bad. The command looks like it should be okay. He's not going to walk a ton of guys. He's going to get some strikeouts, won't give up a ton of hits, may struggle with the long ball. Dude throws gas and has nasty break, and he's actually not that bad defensively as far as his fielding ability. He doesn't have the most accurate throwing arm out of the field. But this is a guy that has potential, and he's got a 4-pitch mix. I really wish he had a changeup peppered in there, but that's okay. We wouldn't probably use him as a closer. We'd probably use him as like a middle relief guy, at least early in his career. But that's a guy that has potential. Another closer here. He does have the 4-pitch mix, but the sinker and 2-seam are so similar that it's just frustrating that now he doesn't have a breaking ball. So I'm not real crazy about that. Plus, the lowest of his key attributes is the walks per 9, and that I am not putting up with. Let's look a little farther down here at guys that, yes, have the potential, but also aren't like 5 years away from being major league ready. Donny James, a starter, a 22-year-old. He's got a 5-pitch mix, but again, sinker and 2-seam, and he doesn't throw a 4-seam. So he's never going to throw a pitch without movement, which is not the worst thing in the world, but why have both a 2-seam and a sinker? Like, that to me is just frustrating. And again, walks per 9, a little bit of an issue. So I'm not real high on him, but I'm kind of going through these live, and I haven't looked all that closely. I like this 4-pitch mix. I, again, kind of wish he had a straight 4-seam, but that's okay. He throws hard. The command is maybe a little bit of an issue, but I like that he's left-handed because we can certainly use some left-handed relief pitching within the next couple years. So that's a maybe. I mean, he's a blue chip, but he's only 20 years old, so he's going to be a pretty good pitcher at some point. And then one more closer here, another lefty. Command, again, going to be an issue. A 3-pitch mix with a hard fastball and then a splitter-slider combination, which isn't terrible. But without command, that splitter is going to be a dangerous, you have to be able to command your pitches at the major league level, period. So I worry about guys that can't throw the ball where they want to. All right, so that's all of the blue chips that are not like 2026 or beyond. Now we've got this guy, Brandon Webb, 18-year-old closer that we fully scouted. It still says that he's got an 80 for potential, which means he should be at least a high B, if not an A. Command could be the issue here, but it's a 4-seam changeup slider mix. He throws pretty hard, has good movement. So the fact that he's young gives him a lot of upside here because he's going to develop pretty quickly and could end up being really good. And he doesn't look like he's that bad right now, but again, it's that command and walks per 9 that give me concern when I'm start looking at a guy that I plan to take in the first round. Now we've got Jonah Perez. He plays first base and does not play any other positions, so if we pick this guy, he would eventually, hypothetically, become our everyday first baseman. Spencer Torkelson would move to either third or corner outfield position full-time. or like they would take turns DHing or whatever. This guy looks like he will be able to absolutely mash. Like those ratings are really solid already. He's a switch hitter, which I absolutely love. I wish he was a little bit younger, but I can look past that. And he's not that bad with his glove. He doesn't have an arm, but if you're playing first base, that shouldn't matter that much. So that's a guy that, depending on what's there in the first or second round, he might be worth a look. Um, Here you got Rolando Cisneros, a switch hitting catcher, 22 years old. He looks like he will be able to hit. Defense is a little bit of a question mark, and at catcher that can be an issue. But if I have a guy that can hit, I will give up the defense. I would prefer a guy like this, a catcher that can hit and is just like okay defensively, versus a guy that is a gold glover but can't, hit his way out of a paper bag. So this guy has potential. That 75 for his potential rating should land him in a B neighborhood, which is not that bad. We got another starting pitcher here, Andy White, 75 for his potential. He's got decent command. He's not going to strike a ton of guys out. The velocity isn't like outrageous. He doesn't throw a changeup, but he does have a 4-pitch mix. That's not that bad. So that's a maybe, but probably not in the first round. We got another closer that's got the high-end potential, but he's not quite major league ready. Command is going to be an issue. 3-pitch mix, a 4-seam, a curve, and a change. Absolute gas. He's going to hit the high 90s. So maybe in the later rounds, but definitely not in the first round. Let's see. Glenn Stubbs, 19-year-old shortstop. He's going to have either A or B potential, but this is a guy that's all about defense from the looks of things. I don't think he's ever going to be, leading the league in hitting or hitting for a whole lot of power. He's got decent speed, and he definitely has the ability to play the position, but I see him as like a perennial utility guy, and not one that we want in the everyday lineup. Sean Gonzalez, this one could be interesting because he hits left-handed, plays a premium position in shortstop, and then if you look at his ratings across the board, they're all just like pretty decent. So he has the potential to turn into a pretty good offensive shortstop and play defense at a pretty decent clip and steal some bases with the speed that he's got and base running ability. So this is a kind of guy that might be there in the second round and would be worth a really hard look. The problem is, like, we have Javi Baez and Jonathan Scope at shortstop. So, we'd be investing in this guy thinking that we're going to use him in a couple of years, maybe at third base, or we trade away Baez, or like Scope goes away to the free agency or whatever. So Hansen is a 70 for his potential, so that's probably a C. It could be a B. What I like about this guy is that he is a switch hitter, and those ratings are all pretty solid to where, like, if I had to play a guy like this and put him on the major league roster right now, he's probably a high 60s, low 70s overall, and I can use him sparingly. So he has value, even if there's not a ton of upside, is basically what that comes down to. The last one that we will look at here, and I'm saying that because as we get farther down, these guys aren't fully scouted, and a lot of it is because I kind of gave up on them, thinking from what I can see, they're probably not the kind of guy that I want. So we're going to look at Dale Cash, 19-year-old left fielder, hits right-handed, has crazy good speed, has no arm, but his offensive ratings are probably going to be okay. It's just going to be a matter of he's going to be a guy like Johnny Damon, except right-handed. Now, if he has Johnny Damon type career numbers, that would be awesome, but like that's the kind of upside that I can see him getting to. A guy that can play the position pretty well, can't throw, but he's a great hitter and has good speed and can be sort of an offensive catalyst. Medina is a maybe pick in like the third round with that 70 potential. I might try and finish his scouting to see if that bumps up at the last minute, but I'm just not real confident there. This is a guy that would be a late round pick if he's still there because the potential is up, but he is just absolutely raw. He does have the upside to hit for some power, but he is not a good defender at all and probably will never really be. And at catcher, I at least want you to be decent. But again, late round pick, sure, why not? The last guy that we're going to look at is Peter Suzuki, 18-year-old, born in Washington. He bats lefty, throws righty. Now, he actually has, and his walks per 9 rating is actually not that bad. He's got crazy good velocity, a 4-pitch mix, including a fastball, splitter, changeup, and slider, which I like. This is a guy that we wouldn't draft in the first round, but if he's there in the second, he might, or even third, he might be the kind of guy that we take a look at. So my recording just cut off on its own, which tells me that it got to an hour. So this is going to be a long episode, so we're definitely not going to get a game in this one, but I hope that that was a really thorough look at where things are a quarter of the way through the season. We made the big pickup with Tony Watson coming in to try and bolster this rotation and help where Gregory Soto just was not getting the job done. But this is definitely a rental. And our bullpen is 100% the area of this team where I feel like we need to address it, more than anything else. So that is going to do it for this episode. If you haven't done so already, please be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, comment below, and we will see y'all next time.
Good evening, friends and neighbors. Or shall I say this afternoon?